What's up, Movement Masters? It's Shawn, Myszka, Movement Master, and OptimizeMovement.com coming to you with another movement lesson. You know, a number of years back, shortly after just starting this movement mastery content site, I took the time to produce a video where we define the idea of movement mastery. You know, you can go back and check out that video when you have some time on your hands. But now here we are, 2 years later. I felt as though it was important to readdress some of the key points of this idea, to clarify and to highlight. Now, to some of our members who have been with us since the early days, this video today is going to serve as a reminder. For other newer members, this could be your first introduction as to what you will have regarding this topic and this definition. For all, though, including myself, this may be the most important topic to define and attempt to understand and come to grips with, because I believe that a masterful mover is what it is that we are all after as sport movement specialists. It is our goal, and thus what we must be absolutely clear what exactly it entails if we ever hope to attain it. Additionally, it can be really quite confusing because determining a masterful mover isn't always exactly the easiest thing to do because it's non-quantifiable and thus open to a great degree of subjectivity. So let's think about sport movement mastery for a second here. Many think that it's simply about performance outcomes, and of course ultimately it is. To be a masterful mover, one must be dominating within their craft. However, I feel as though the processes towards achieving those successful performance outcomes are going to be vital to the athlete's attainment of their personal potential as well as their safety and longevity. Now, there are 5 main characteristics of motor performance and motor behavior that I personally feel serve to define the masterful moving athlete: ownership, optimization, virtuosity, efficiency, and effectiveness. Movement ownership, or the athlete's ability to be self-sufficient when moving. Here, the athlete's kinesthetic sense and awareness has become attuned to the typical problems present within their sport and how to overcome those problems in the most fluid and proficient of fashions. So when the problem changes, or when pressure and anxiety and fatigue and chaos will enter the mix, the athlete still remains in control of him or herself to be able to come up with appropriate movement solutions. The second characteristic, movement optimization. Here I'm talking respectively of the attainment of an authentic movement signature, which is specific to the individual and takes advantages of his or her personal characteristics, such as their anthropometric features and morphology, their physical and psychological characteristics, their previous learning, as well as any peculiarities. This authentic movement signature may not adhere to some idealistic technical movement model. And again, it's pretty damn difficult to identify what makes one movement solution more optimal for a given individual more than another for a similar respective movement problem. But what we do know is that performers' movement patterns will differ from individual to individual. Thirdly, movement virtuosity, or the athlete has or possesses a high technical mastery in both the typical as well as atypical movement skills and their patterns that they must perform. On top of this, they are able to combine those skills as needed. Additionally, we are talking here about the athlete's ability to detect errors within that execution and then make the necessary adjustments or error corrections and perform the most optimal motor actions in the ever-changing conditions of sport. Like movement ownership, this virtuosity is vital and imperative. Fourthly, movement efficiency. Here the athlete utilizes the optimal combination of the human movement system's working mechanisms at hand, at both a macro level as well as a micro level. And within the solutions they formulate per the problems that they are facing. Additionally, they waste very little time and energy, and thus they are able to more fully match force development enforce expression within the movement in an energy efficacious fashion. Finally, movement effectiveness. Here the athlete is able to achieve the goal of the typical and again atypical motor tasks to the fullest potential possible. Meaning, if the athlete could face a particular problem in the sport, they have an appropriate solution to it. They have a robust and diverse movement toolbox, so to say. Therefore, they know how to read and recognize nuances of the problem and what it means to them and their responses to it. They're able to achieve the goals of any of the tasks of the sport, and they have very few weaknesses present in their movement craft. All in all, when we combine the nuances of those 5 characteristics of a masterful mover all together, we find that the athlete has a biodynamic structure of his or her movement skill that is both stable as well as flexible to the ever-changing environment and tasks of their sport. This is movement mastery, and it's up to us as sport movement specialists to direct the athlete on their path of movement skill acquisition and refinement through our practice structure and activities that we prescribe, as well as our guidance and communication methods that we may employ. Easier said than done, for sure, but a most worthy goal nonetheless. I hope that we can all continue this journey together to enable more of our athletes to become masters of their sport movement craft. So for another movement lesson, this has been Shawn, Myszka, Movement Mastery and OptimizeMovement.com. Till next time, let's all continue to master the art of optimizing movement.